Hey there everybody, and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a side-by-side comparison of the Fusion Pro controller and the Xbox Elite Series 2 Core controller. Now, I will be jumping over to a screen sharing in a bit to show the more updated models because this is the wired controller, and this here is the wireless model. So we're not doing a like for like, but I do want to show the two controllers side by side and kind of show what the competition looks like. Now, before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the channel for new content. Now, I do have a much more updated review of the Series 2 Core controller. If you're interested, I'll drop that link in the description. So basically, we're going to compare these two models side by side. I will actually be starting with the Fusion Pro controller. Now you'll see the case is a little bit dirty, but the Fusion Pro controller, I got this one used on Mercari, and I thought it was a really interesting device. However, I did not realize, because I wasn't reading, that this is a wired controller. So I'm going to be using this model really quick just to explain a couple of things that I think that they could have improved on, and also why in some ways this is actually a better model than the Series 2 controller. So first things first, this model that I have here is an older model, but it basically looks to be the same thing as if you were to buy the premium version of the Core 2. So for the Xbox controller, you have the Core 2, and then you have the premium version, which is an additional $50, and it comes with all of the extra features or tools, so to speak. So covering a couple of the options that are included when we have this Fusion Pro, we have this cool leather case with the word Fusion across the top. You unzip on the inside, you can put your really long cable up here. You know it's a little bit dated when it's micro USB and it's not a USB Type-C. The other thing is this is not a wireless controller. So you can see when we hold down the button up here, it's not going to light up. We have to stay wired. Some people think that's a good thing because it can increase response times, but some of us just like to be able to move around while using the device. Now, looking at the actual features themselves, I like that they went with the original colored buttons. As you can see on this one, they're all white. And then we do have a couple of options for customization. Now, one area that this falls short is you have to disassemble the controller. So if you want to swap out the thumbsticks with the other thumbsticks that are provided, you can't just pull the top off. The thumbstick is actually built into the controller, so you're going to have to take it apart. Good thing is these are, if I'm not mistaken, Phillips screws. You can't really see inside there too well, but it's easier to disassemble, but there's not a spot in here for the screwdriver, which is a little bit irritating. So if you want to customize this, your limitations are going to be basically set to your options for your triggers, and that's about it. When it comes to the Xbox Series 2 controller, you have the option to pull the top of the thumbstick off, and they include a tool for you to put in here and adjust the level of sensitivity. And these pieces are magnetized and they grip back on very well. Additionally, you have the ability to pull off and customize your D-pad, which is nice. And you still have all the other options, for example, the sensitivity for your controllers and things of that nature. So when it comes to customization, it is a lot easier to work with the Series 2 controller because you can just pull the pieces off, they're magnetized. Yeah, it does feel like they're a little bit cheap. For example, the joysticks feel a little cheap, and it would be easy to drop this on the floor and have this pop off. But at the same time, for ease of use, you don't want to have to go digging for a screwdriver if you decide, you know what, I want to switch my thumbsticks out. So we'll give a couple points to Xbox here. Now, on the Fusion Pro front, this is a very heavy controller. When you compare the two, this one, they feel like they're a similar weight, but this one just feels like it's more metallic, but it does feel solid. Has a nice rubberized grip. It does have this two-tone color and these little chrome accents. And you do also have these pieces here, which you can actually place in. So when you take the controller apart, you can push these in and get these little chrome green accents here. So I love the ability to customize the controller a little bit more there. That's a really cool addition. And there are actually spots for these in the case. And then with this, you get the joysticks. So for example, you can see here, I have a joystick that's indented and then one that's rounded over the top, but the other joysticks are included with this package. And then lastly, the look and feel for the additional paddles here. Now, one cool thing about this, which I do like, is these paddles just slip straight in. And that's all that there is to it. Your fingers will rest on them, and those can be mappable to whatever buttons you want them to be. Now, that is a good thing, and also you can just press this button, or the button on the bottom to release them, which is really cool. So I like that you can just pop the whole piece out, whereas with the Xbox controller here, the paddles are actually going to slide directly in on over top of the buttons that they map to, or that they connect to. Now, when we're speaking of the back of the controller, one thing I've noticed, I don't personally like the paddles on the Fusion Pro. I don't have them for the Core 2, but I think that this just makes this controller really busy to use almost every finger touching the controller. So I tend to play without. And one of the things that I noticed is where my fingers personally naturally rest on this controller, I don't feel these the sensitivity pieces for the triggers on this device, which I love. All I feel is the controller and it being smooth. I wish they would have included a little plastic cover if you decide you don't want to play with this piece. Maybe that wasn't included, but at least I don't have it, so you can feel that. But where my fingers rest on the back, I'm literally just touching the controller. Unfortunately, on the Series 2 controller, where my fingers rest naturally on the back, I can feel the indentations for the hairpin sensitivity for these triggers. So I'm going to break this down for similarities and differences. The similarities, both controllers have these sensitivity adjustment so that you can change how sensitive or how far you're going to need to depress the triggers. Both have the options for paddles on the back, and both have the options to essentially change up, if you're on a computer, what button maps to what. Where it falls short when it comes to the mappable customization options, on this Fusion Pro or on the Xbox Series 2 controller, you have 3 software modes where you can actually change and save different settings so you can remap all of your buttons. So for example, if we turn this on, you can choose the different mode that you're in, and each mode can have different buttons mapped to different places. And you have the ability to pull off the thumbsticks, adjust the sensitivity for these here. You have the ability to adjust the sensitivity for the actual triggers and customize pretty much everything on the controller without disassembly. So this one, if you're looking to just game and go, is probably the better bet. Now, if you want to get the upgraded or updated Fusion Pro, if you can find a wireless version, just bear in mind that some of the customizations with this are going to require you to take apart the controller, but it is a premium feeling controller, and I personally like the feel a little bit more. It is heavy and in a sense almost feels a little hollow, so I think this one feels more premium. But when it comes to this one, a couple of benefits that you have is it feels like it's designed for my grip. Like me personally, when it comes to just playing, I like the feel of this. I don't feel like the controller is really busy, and I like that you can just take this whole piece off. I just wish they would have put a cover here. So when it comes to going between the two, I typically err on the side of trying to go, if you have the money and you're looking at the prices and it makes sense, I would personally still go with the Series 2 controller, primarily because of the software options to map the buttons. That's a really cool feature, especially if you're trying to plug it into your Xbox and just game and go. You can just put it in setting 3, then drop it back to default. And the last thing that I will say is this does seem to lack on the customization piece. So with this one, it's easy to take apart. You can swap out your buttons if you can find some other ones on eBay, whereas with this one, it doesn't really appear to be customizable. There's only 2, we'll call them flavors. You have the black controller, which is the premium for $179, and then you have the standard white core model, which is going to be for between $124.99 and $129.99. So again, this one is going to be a bit more expensive. The one thing I will say, I think these two are very, very safe bets for controllers. They both have a solid and premium feel. If you have the extra money and you're a heavy gamer, the Series 2 is probably going to be a better option for you. But between the two, I really think both have some serious pros in their favor or benefits to getting them. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you all in the next video.